Hey, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Your Money Story. I'm Renita Young, and I'm so excited today because not only do we get to talk about a topic that a lot of people find not necessarily taboo, but they want to learn about it, but they just haven't been able to. Not only do we get to do that, but I get to bring on a guest who has mastered the art of trading, the art of day trading, and has launched Trade and Travel years ago, and is teaching tons of people a day to make $1,000 a day and more by day trading. I'm talking about Terry Ijeoma of Trade and Travel. And hang on for just a moment so that I can get Terry. Okay, Terry should be joining us very shortly. And I hope you guys are having a good day where you are. It's the winter time. It's a little cold, so I hope you're warm in the colder areas. Hi, Terry. Terry,
Hi,
how are
Anita. How
you?
are you?
I'm well. I was just chatting a little bit to keep the folks company, but I really appreciate you joining me today.
Of course, of course. Now,
Absolutely.
can you hear me okay? I was losing my voice, so I'm hoping that you can hear
Oh,
me.
I can hear you well.
Okay, good.
Everybody, you guys can hear Terry, right? I think people can hear you. Yes, Danielle invests. Danielle Classy Shirley says, we love Terry. And I see your people,
Yay!
your tribe is so strong and so supportive of you. And I love it.
I
So
love
thank you
them
guys.
too. They're amazing.
They are. They are. I see them all the time whenever I catch your lives. In fact, that's the first time that I learned about Terry Egioma. I learned about Trade and Travel last year when you were on a live with Tanya Rapley.
Yes, love
And
Tanya. My Fab
yes,
Finance. Love her so much.
my Fab Finance will be here in a few weeks, by the way, folks. But first, let's talk about you. Now, you grew up in Dallas, correct?
Yes.
And before you became Terry Egioma, who we see now, what was your relationship like with money growing up?
We were super frugal. So my mom and grandmother, they always looked at coupons. They always went to the clearance section. Like a successful day at the mall would be if my mom found a pair of jeans for $3. Like that was success for us. Like you don't spend too much, you spend just what you need.
Hmm.
And that just came because we didn't have much. My mom worked in service industry, so like education. She worked for the Dallas Housing Authority, and the
Hmm.
max salary was 35,000, 40,000. So as a single mom, like we couldn't go into the grocery store and just get whatever we wanted. We had to get what was on the coupon book.
Hmm.
So my relationship with money is that we don't have a lot and you can't spend it. That's about it.
Totally understandable. I mean, it really sounds like how I grew up, my relationship with money. And so, like, at some point, though, folks, the folks who are on Terry's IG, you already know all of what Terry has done in her life, from working on Wall Street in college to going to seminary, being a full-time minister in Dallas and in Chicago. Um, and being an assistant principal, right? So somewhere in that mix, you decided to gain a consciousness about money, about trading. Tell me when and where that happened and how.
Sure. So initially it happened in high school. There was a program called Lead, and shout out to Dr. Drake. He's the executive director of Lead. He called me this morning. I'm pretty sure somebody must have said, like, your student is on the Breakfast Club or something, you know. But the Lead program took um, like high performing students, because I was top in my class, and we had
Hmm.
about 600 students in my high school class. So they took high performing students and then took us to business schools. And I went to Northwestern University and they showed us the
Hmm.
Chicago Stock Exchange. That was my first real introduction to business and to finance in that way. Because before then, I wanted to be an architect. I loved
Hmm.
houses. I thought that I was going to build subdivisions. Like, never would I have imagined doing something in the stock market at all. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
And I would say another big another big push was another program that, just praise God for programs for under resourced kids, because that's what
Hmm.
got me through. There was a program called SEO. Are you familiar with that program? It's Sponsorship for Educational Opportunity.
Not yet. I will
They
look it
um
up.
they actually take kids like minority students and help them get jobs on Wall Street. So I did that
Okay.
my junior year of college, going into senior year of
Hmm.
college, and that's when I interned at Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
And again, wouldn't have had that foot in the door without programs like that. So those two programs, I would say, like really shaped my view of money, and that there was even a stock market out there.
That's amazing because, by the way, Northwestern, my alma mater, where I went for graduate school at Medill, that was where I decided to go into business journalism as well. I mean, before that, when I was graduating from college with student loan debt and other debt, I said, you know what, I got to get this under control. I need to understand how to pay off debt. I'd like to buy a home one day.
Yeah.
I need to really wrap my mind around retirement, right? And so all of those issues are collectively personal finance, right? And so today, you founded Trade and Travel. You have several other ventures under the Trade and Travel umbrella or under your umbrella, right? And so tell me, there could have been several ways that you could have gone short term. Well, really, two main ways when it comes to trading: short term trading and long term trading, right? So give us your case for why short term trading is your choice.
I needed to be able to pay for my bills. And literally, that's the reason why short term trading is important. Because as a long term investor, it's wonderful because you have something for retirement. But then what do you do in the meantime? And like I have my cousin. My cousin is investing in crypto right now. And I don't invest in crypto. I do just stocks and
Oh,
options. But
okay.
he is like a millionaire on paper and broke in real life because he can't spend the money. He's like trying to
Oh,
save and wait till that
yeah.
portfolio does its thing. But then in real life, he is doing DoorDash every day. He's trying to figure out how to get his
Oh,
kids into soccer and all these different things. And he's like, Terry,
mhm.
we ain't got no money. So he's rich on paper but broke in real life. And I think that as an active investor, that's where stocks can start helping your real life. Like it can
Mhm.
help you so that you don't have to work all those hours at DoorDash and
Yeah.
side hustles. Like you actually could use the money in your account already to pay for some of those things that are important to you now. So that's really my case for active investing.
And I've heard also on that live last year that one of the ways or one of the reasons why you decided to leave your 9 to 5, so to speak, it had to do with a close friend of yours. And can you tell us the story if you don't mind?
Sure, it was my friend John, and still, like, I still can't believe that he's gone. Like, I feel like he'd be so proud of me right now. Like, he would have been the
Oh.
first person to call, like, Terry, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
Um, but I was actually on my way to school, and this like I'd already not been liking my job, and then I'm on my way to school, and the first thing I'm seeing is like all these text messages from my friends, and they're just blowing up the phone, like,
Mm.
what is going on? And turns out my friend John had passed away. And I remember going into the building and then having to pretend the rest of the day like nothing had happened because my bosses were already picking on me for everything. Like, if I got into the building 1 minute late, well, Terry, it's 7:01, not 7 o'clock.
Mm.
So like I just had to pretend that whole day like everything was okay. And I remember going into my office that day and just breaking down,
Oh.
sobbing. Because my friend had passed away. I'm in this job that I hate. And then on top of that, like I know that they're gonna give me issues with wanting to go to his funeral because I don't
Mm.
know if I'm gonna be able to take off. Like they're gonna fight. Like it was horrible. So
Wow.
right in that moment was when I knew I needed an exit strategy, and for me that
Hmm.
was trading stocks.
And just so you are probably already know this, a lot of people on this live are looking for a way to design their lifestyle so that they don't have to have a conventional 9 to 5. And so we're going to dig into a little bit more of how you have designed your lifestyle. Now, I've heard a story about your very first successful trade with Chipotle. So tell us how you did it and how you thought to invest in Chipotle.
You know what? Like, what's so crazy is I've been investing for so long now. Like, now this is my 12th year. I started in
Wow.
2010. I've been investing for 12 years. So part of me is like, I was trading this morning. I can't even remember what that Chipotle trade was.
Oh my.
Can I tell you actually about what I'm excited about right now? Because it's
You
on my
can,
mind.
sure. Okay.
So yesterday, so you know, we look at I'm a technical analysis trader. I look at stock charts, and yesterday, Adobe had come down a lot into this really great buyer's level, and I sent a message to my VIP students. I was like, "Look, are y'all seeing this? Like, this is really unusual activity." And one of our strategies is we sell verticals, which means that like if we're kind of looking to see if a stock is going to stay above or below a certain area. And I was like, you know what? This is crazy. Like, it really looks like a lot of unusual activity around like $500
Yeah.
for the Adobe stock. Today, girl, it opened up and the stock was up $12. And I
Wow.
was like, oh my gosh. So I sent my message to my students. I was like, did anybody take the trade? Like, I was talking about this just yesterday, and some of them are like, yeah, Terry, I did it. I made a good profit on it yesterday.
That's
So,
good, Terry. This is exactly, what you teach people, how to spot these trends,
yeah.
and then really how to follow through, right? Because people don't understand technical analysis until they really get into it.
Mm-hmm. They don't. And even the idea too that there are many ways to be successful in short-term trading.
Mm.
Like the fact that we were selling verticals, that's a little bit more advanced, but people don't know. Like you can also just have a trade that says if the stock doesn't come to this price, I'll make
Hmm.
money. That's like so cool. You can go to work and as long as it doesn't hit that price, you make
Yeah.
money. So
Okay. Good. And
yeah.
so, and then we'll talk a little bit later. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll do this now. When you are trading, so you have your course, Trade and Travel. But before people get into trading daily, short term, what do they need to do first? A lot of people who I speak with who are investment managers, people ask them all the time, hey, I want to start investing. They say, hey, do you have a budget? Right. So that you
Yes.
know how much money you can afford to lose. Right. So is that sort of like your first step before people trade that they should have?
First step for me is you do need to open an account, a brokerage account. And I think that's important because no matter what opportunity you see, if you don't have the right account open, then you won't be able to take advantage of the opportunity. You could
Mm,
see like a wonderful stock come to a great price and then you'll miss it. So you need to open a brokerage account. Another thing is, yes, I agree with you, Renita, you need to save. I do not believe that you can be an active investor with $0.
hmm.
You need to have some type of savings account. So yes, usually as an active investor, this is a point in your journey where you've already done the work of maybe paying down some of your debt, getting your finances in order, and now you're more at a place where I have this money just sitting in my savings account and I know it's not making any money. So what do
Hmm.
I do? Like how do I be more like a better steward of that? So that's where active investors really, that's where that comes in.
Okay. And so which trading platforms, which broke places do you suggest people look at to find brokerage accounts that are good for them?
There are, so I hesitate to say an exact one because
Okay.
sometimes the different brokerage accounts will like have a snag or break down. But I will say, here's a couple things I think are important. I think it needs to be one with a robust customer service. It needs to
Hmm.
be one that will not break down when the volume is high. It needs to be one that has good charting. So if you're looking through different brokers, make sure they have really good charting. That means you can see their candlesticks, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Also, they need to have robust order types. As a trader, I want you to be able to have like a trailing stop or be able to exit at different times. Make sure that your broker has many ways to enter and exit a trade. So those are the things that I want you to look for. And then I do want you to look for a broker that allows you to enter into a trade quickly. What I mean by that is there's some brokers that will give like a couple milliseconds of time before they actually place your trade. So you might say, okay, I want this stock at $100, and they get it to you at 102. And it might seem small, but those $2 is called slippage, and they can make a big difference as a trader. So some of the ones that I know give you quick entries are TD Ameritrade. I know that one does well. I know Interactive Brokers does well. One that many of my students use is TradeStation. So look for those things when you're picking a broker.
Quick question. Do you think, does Fidelity do the same thing too? That's a big one that a lot of people go to as well, because their retirement accounts are attached to Fidelity. So
Fidelity is great. I personally have to look into them some more. I have some students that use Fidelity, and when I've placed a trade and then they've placed a trade, sometimes their prices were not as good as my price. So that's where I was saying that, like, make sure the entry types or like the entry timing is really sharp. So I'll have to check Fidelity again.
Okay, but definitely, folks, like Terry said, do your research. And those are great points, questions that people should ask of the data to find out if it's really good for them. Okay, and so listen, you talked a little bit about people who want to, they might want to sell, they might want to set a limit there. And you're getting into the conversation about how people can protect from risk, right? So tell us a little bit more about, or the different ways that you suggest people do that.
Risk management is crucial. And Renita, I know you know this, but for those that don't know, when I was first trading full time, I had one of the biggest losses ever in my time as a trader. I lost like $24,000 in one trade, and I did everything wrong. So now,
whoa.
Right. So that's what I use now to teach people about risk management, all the things that I did wrong. And a couple of them are like picking the right companies. First thing in order to be a good trader is you've got to start with a healthy company. It can't be something that, oh, this is a fad, everybody says join this, or getting into it just because it's inexpensive. Sometimes people say, well, I don't have a lot of money, so I'm gonna get into this three cent penny stock. No, that's not a healthy company. I'd rather you get one share of a healthy company than get a ton of shares of something just because it's inexpensive. So picking the right company. Then another part of risk management is putting in stop losses. That's putting in protection. I talk about this all the time because this is something that I didn't know existed when I first started trading. And again, I've been trading 12 years now. The first 6 years, I didn't know that there was a stop loss. A stop loss, just says if the stock comes down to a certain point, take me out of the trade. And that is crucial because you can predict ahead of time how much you're willing to lose. So that's a big part of risk management. And then there's so many other things. Your quantity size is important. Your risk management, like your risk tolerance, determining, okay, I'm only willing to lose $100 or $200. Having an exit strategy in general. What is your target for this trade? You're getting into it, but there's got to be a price where you're ready to take your profit. So several of those things go into my risk management plan.
Okay. And so a lot of your students are in the $1,000 a day club.
In a day club.
Right? Making $1,000, folks. Please let me clarify. They make $1,000 in a day trading, using the concepts that they've learned from Terry's trade and travel course. And so I'm not even sure if this is fair to ask, but just off the top of my mind, honestly, how long has it taken people on average to master the craft, or at least be proficient in it, so that they can make $1,000 in a day, after your guidance, of course?
Well, now that we have nearly 12,000 students in the trade and travel program and like 16,000 across the school, it's hard for me to give an average because I have some students that will binge watch the course and then the very next day they made $1,000 in a day.
Wow.
Yes. And then I have some that are like, oh, Terry, I started the class and then I got distracted and I'm coming back 3 years later,
Yeah.
But what I would say to that question is I think that it's easy to learn, but it takes about a year to master being a good trader and being consistent. So that was some advice that one of my mentors even gave me when I was at the school. It took me about 8 weeks to really learn. Well, I've been training a long time, but for my course, it takes my students about 8 weeks to learn. But then give yourself a year to be consistent, because there's some part of trading that's just about learning the market. What
Okay.
happens when inflation rises? What happens during earnings when your company reports, good or bad? What
Mm-hmm.
happens when your company's competitors report? For example, yesterday we had Goldman Sachs report, and then Morgan Stanley's stock responded. Your
Mm-hmm.
stock may not even have reported that day, but it's moving for some other reason. So
Right.
those type of things take time to learn.
They do. And that's very interesting to know. Just looking at the competitor companies, looking at the similar companies. To be honest, that's what I do every day for my job. I report on cryptocurrencies at one point throughout the day. I used to do more market reporting, but a lot of it is, of course, looking at the news in crypto, but also looking at how the crypto linked stocks like Riot, Riot Blockchain, Marathon Digital, Coinbase, how they are moving because of the crypto news. It's really what I love about this conversation about what you do in general is that it's demystifying trading. It's demystifying an area where people have felt shut out. Many people of color have felt shut out for several years, and many people who are just at an information deficit. And it kind of just takes the fear out of numbers, right? And charts. It takes the fear out of charts. And so your people have a whole lot of questions, right? But before we get to that, I need to know about your $1,000,000 day. Right now, it takes a lot of money to make $1,000,000. Sometimes you lose some, and you did show the evidence of that on your Instagram account. And so, take us through that $1,000,000 day. Like, I don't know, did you wake up and say, "I'm gonna make $1,000,000 today"? what, what did you take us through that day, honestly? Because I want to know what you felt like. What happened.
Yeah. So this was back in September of last year, September 2021. I was in Puerto Rico in my my new house on the beach. I remember waking up that morning, and the first thing that I do is I wake up about an hour before the market,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at where it is. So I remember looking at the chart and seeing that Amazon had fell into a level that I had already previously charted. And I think that's key. As traders, we do our homework beforehand. So I had already put onto the chart where I would be a buyer of Amazon and where I would sell. And it came to a level where I had said previously I'd be a buyer. So that morning I looked at it and I'm like, it's there. Like But at the same time, it was also scary because if it was coming into my buyer's level, that means that Amazon was falling. So that morning in the market, Amazon had been falling quite a bit. But I said, you know what? My chart says to do this. I'm going to do it. So I take the trade. I'm trading options. So I buy 100 contracts of Amazon. That day it rises about $123.
Hmm.
And options contracts, for those that know, each contract is 100 shares. So it rises. And I remember watching it. And the first day I had actually two trades of this. So I remember watching it and I was like, I think I'm going to hit my goal today. I've been wanting to make $1,000,000 in a day for 2 years, but it takes
Okay.
time. You got to build up your account. You got to build up your mental health, all these things to
Mm-hmm.
become a really good trader. And I was like, this is going to happen. So then I had the conversation with myself of, once it started reaching those levels, am I going to sell this all today, or am I going to let it go until tomorrow? Because I knew that it hadn't reached my target.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up selling some and then letting the rest run and selling more the next day. But that day was really cool.
For
What's crazy,
sure.
yeah. What's crazy, Renita, though, is that I didn't even get time to celebrate because we were about to go on tour for my trade and travel documentary.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so that
wow.
day, it happened that morning. And then I remember going straight into meetings. Okay, y'all ready? Are we
Wow.
ready to go? And it happened actually several other times during that tour,
Are you
which
kidding
was,
me? That
yeah,
is crazy. So, folks, that's the story of
that's
how
what happened.
Terry got $1,000,000 in a day. But it took a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of charting.
Yeah.
But it just showed the what people can do when they focus and when you set specific goals through charts of how to reach this. And so you mentioned one thing I can't breeze past. And I'm glad you said it because you reminded me of another question that I had. You
Yeah.
said you had to get your mental health in an area where you can do that, right? And so just talk about some of the intangibles that people need to make sure to do before they trade, right? I would imagine you definitely have to get your mind right, maybe even control your impulses, right? So, like, can you talk about that?
Sure. Trading is one of the most mentally, I don't want to say exhausting, but like mentally challenging fields that you could ever enter. Because on every single trade, you're either right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance that you're going to be wrong, and then you got to deal with, well, what was the mistake or why did this happen? Or there's the chance that you'll be right, but then you also have to curb your enthusiasm because you need to make sure that you aren't overexcited so you can get
Mm-hmm.
into another trade the next day. So mental health is super important. And then there's all these other things that go into each trade. Like once a trade goes wrong, then you have to think about, okay, did I get into this because of fear of missing out? Did I get into this because I was just too excited? And then when it's
Mm-hmm.
going down, you have to learn how to cut your losses. So all of these are mental things. And
Mm-hmm.
then you think, okay, on even days where it's going well, then there's well, should I get out or should I let it keep going? Like all these things
Mm-hmm.
are going through your head. I think the best way to help with this is really having a trading plan that you stick with. You got to be militant to this trading plan. And it might take some time to really figure out what trading plan works for you. So in Trade and Travel, we have a 7-step strategy that we take our students through. That's our trading plan. But even as students go through it, they may have to tailor it for them. Like I have some students that say, you know what, I like the plan, but I'm going to focus on gaps. Or I like this plan, but I'm focusing on trading the S&P, something.
Mm-hmm.
But having a solid trading plan will really help with the emotions. And then just pretending like you're in the military and you do those steps every single time will help with consistency.
With consistency, absolutely, because something can throw you off. Something in the trading day
Yeah.
could actually throw you off, whether it's actually looking at the stocks or looking at the news that came before the stocks to do so. And so, like, someone on here just asked the question that I'm so glad they asked it because it's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about. Someone said that I'm in Canada. Can I register for the 5-day challenge? And they're talking about your Take Your First Trade challenge. So, number one, can
Yes.
they register, and then tell us about your Take Your First Trade challenge?
For sure. So we actually have a lot of Canadian students and students in the UK in my trade and travel program in general. So yes, no matter where you are, you can enroll in my course or the 5-day challenge. And the 5-day challenge is coming up the first week of February. We kick it off on January 31st, but I'm going to be walking people through how to take their first trade. So how do you open your account? How do you pick the right companies? And then how do you actually place a trade and sell a trade to make your profit? And the goal there is, and sorry y'all, my voice is kind of going out, but
Oh.
the goal there is when I was younger, I really wanted to get into Google, but nobody knew how to do it. My grandmother didn't,
Mm.
my teachers didn't, and so I missed out on an opportunity to invest when it was $83 a share. Now
Wow.
it's almost $3,000 a share, right? Just how much would my life have been different if somebody knew how to do it? So
Mm.
that's the goal in this Take Your First Trade challenge. I want you all to know, how do you actually place a trade and exit a trade so that if an opportunity comes for you, you know how to do it. And then down the road, if you're like, okay, Terry, now I really want to up my game,
Mm-hmm.
because we're gonna work on the indexes. So the indexes average 8 to 10%. So if you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Terry, we got that down, but I really want to go further, that's when you can join the trade and travel program after that.
Got it, got it. And another person, epitome of Ashley, she says, is your course lifetime or is it limited access, trade and travel?
Great question. Right now, I would say definitely get in now because right now it's lifetime. But as we get more students, we may have to start limiting it mainly just because Zoom can only hold so many students at a time. And we do like
Probably.
live coaching calls. The course is recorded, but we have these coaching calls to help people as well. So we may at some point have to do that, but right now it's lifetime. And I forgot to say, to get into the challenge, the website is takeyourfirsttrade.com. Takeyourfirsttrade.com. So go to that website. It's super inexpensive. It's $55. We just wanted a little something because if you pay attention. So
Hmm.
it's a small little investment just so that you say, I'm committed to this. And I'm excited to help you guys.
You said if you pay attention. I like that better
Yeah.
than what some people say. You got to have some skin in the game. I
That too,
like
though.
I like that. But true. Both of them are true. So Maisha the builder says, how does the current market affect day trading right now?
You know what? We are in the best place because as day traders, we know how to make money on the way up and down. So, one of the big things I've been pushing lately is learning how to short sell. And that's something that we do in our VIP program. But short selling is making money when the market goes down. As a long term investor, you really don't have control when the market goes down. You just have to watch your portfolio and just hope that it turns around. So, we're in a really good position right now. Mhm.
I have a follow-up question to that. When you look at your charts, when you're charting a move,
Mhm.
or actually no, in the day when you're charting a move, not for like weeks ahead or if you hit a certain level, then how far back do you look? Do you spot trends in the intraday, or are you looking at over time? Because a lot of long-term investors, they're definitely looking at maybe the 5 year, 10 year.
Yeah.
But how far back are you looking? Or are you looking at intraday?
You know what? We're looking at candlestick charts and then we like go back as far as we need to. So some of the charts that we've been looking at right now, the stocks haven't been this price since like June of last year. And there's some, they haven't quite gotten this far yet, but there's been times where I've had to look back a year to find when was the last time the stock price was at this price. Because that's
Hmm.
how we determined what we're going to do. Like, okay, the last time Adobe was at 500, what did it do? Right?
Hmm.
So really, each stock is different, but we can go pretty far back in charting.
Okay, that makes sense. Someone asks HC Legend, he said, how much do you need to get started investing? I've been seeing people post stuff like, oh, you can start investing with less than $100. Is that
Yeah.
true? And how much, I guess, minimum would you say people need to start investing?
Yep. And there's a difference between long-term investing and short-term. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's
I like
okay.
literally had no voice yesterday, so I'm proud of
Oh my
myself to be able to
gosh.
talk today.
Yay! I'm glad that you preserved it for today because a lot of people on here are still commenting and they want to hear more from you. So this is great.
I love it. Um, so with long-term investing, you can start with any amount. The minimum you'd probably need is the $500 or so to open a brokerage account. So you do need some money for that. And there's some that I think will let you open a brokerage account for free. But as a as a short-term investor, you're trying to make a percentage of your cash amount on a regular basis. So you got to have some cash to make a percentage of your cash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At
Takes money to
first,
make money.
right. At first, I would say $1,000, and that is still decent. Like you can I have a lot of students. I have some students that even started with just 500. One actually, he started with 500. He built his account from there to 35,000, and then just last week he was on the live. This is Chris Calvin. If y'all on my page, we did a live with
Okay.
him. He made $21,000 in a day. Was it last week? And he started his account
That's
with
good.
$500.
Wow.
So it's possible, but I think if you can start with about $2,000, that's a good jumping off point. Because then when you're making 1% of that, you're trying to make $20 on a regular basis. So you make $20, that's 1%, then you try to do it again. Okay, let me see if I can make $20 again. And if you do that 8 times, well now you already are at the average for the S&P. Keep going and now you're beating the market.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think 2000 is a good place as an active investor.
Okay. Good to note that.
Hmm.
Follow-up question here. When you talk about losses, um, I know that this is probably not a specific answer for everyone
Yeah.
because, some can afford to lose more than some, right? But what kinds of questions should you ask yourself when you're determining how much you can afford to lose?
Well, I mean, it's going to be personal for each question, but you do need to set a risk tolerance. I think that your daily goal should be, your risk tolerance should be at max what your daily goal is. What do I mean by that? If you are trying to make $100 in a day, then your risk tolerance needs to be no more than $100. Because if it's more than that, then it's going to take you a lot of time to make your money back. So say, for example, you're in a trade and you're losing and it's down $300, but your daily goal is only $100 a day. Well, now it's going to take you 3 days to try to get back what you're losing on this one trade. So your maximum loss should be what your daily goal is. I know as a teacher, I feel like that was confusing, so I'm going to say it in another way. I have some students right now, and they are trying to make, like, say they have, okay, let's do the $2,000 idea. So
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to make you have $2,000 and you're trying to make $20 a day. Your max loss each day cannot be more than $20
Mm-hmm.
because that's the amount that you're trying to make each day. Okay. And the goal though is that you want your reward to be 3 times your risk. So if your risk is $20, that means on each trade you're actually trying to make $60 because you want the amount you make to be 3 times what your risk is. Does that make sense?
It does. No, I get that totally. And so just Mala, just put in here your risk tolerance at max should be your daily goal. I think that's a really good way to put it. And so your goal, what you're saying is your goal really should be 3 times whatever that is.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. Well, listen, we're almost wrapping up here. And a lot of people here, which person? Okay, so Anita V. Perkins asks, how much should you set aside for taxes when you take profit?
I think that that's going to really be each person, like up to each person. Because what people don't realize is your tax rate as an active investor is going to be your overall tax rate. They're just going to charge you the same amount as if you made regular income. So if, for example, like you lost your job that year and then started trading, your income might be low. So you may be at the 15% level. Or if you're a doctor and no matter what, your tax bracket is 35%, then they're going to also tax any profits from your trading at 35%. It's just whatever your tax rate is, they'll add your trading income to that and then tax it all the same. So it's really the same as if you had any other side hustle or other business. It'll be the same.
Okay, very, very clean and clear way to understand it. One person asks, how much is your course? Totally fine if you just want to tell them they could go to your website. But one person asks.
I am not shy. The course is 8 weeks and it's $5,000. And for those that have been looking at other courses, you know that is super inexpensive because a lot of other courses in this space that offer all that we offer are like $30,000, $55,000 and up. I personally paid $30,000 per class when I was learning how to invest.
Wow.
Yeah, so 5,000 is like, whoo, girl, thank you, Jesus. Let me give you. And it is something that students have been making back. Like once they learn to trade, they make their money back. So
it's an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment, but there are payment plans. So we have a payment plan on the investwithterry.com site that is as low as I think $300 to get started. So check out the payment plans, but that's how much the course is.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so listen, Terry, what do you have coming up next? You've already started launching some really awesome content on your YouTube channel. So tell us what's coming up next.
Definitely check out the YouTube channel. It's YouTube and it's Trade and Travel on YouTube. Trade and Travel. We have like 3 different shows that we've been putting out. We have Make It Make Sense, And that's like me and Lynette Calfani Cox, and we just
Mm-hmm.
break down different investing things. On Wednesdays, we've been doing millionaire conversations, and we have several new ones coming out. We just recorded conversations with several people in New York that were phenomenal, so check those
Okay.
out. And then Saturday, we have our trade and travel documentary, Trade and Travel Life, where you just see my life and what's going on. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest thing is this Take Your First Trade challenge. So y'all go to takeyourfirsttrade.com. Join me in the challenge. Let me help you learn to take your first trade.
All right, Terry,
Yeah.
that is a great, great place to leave it. This was a really good conversation. Folks, thank you for joining us. And listen, if you do want to learn more about Terry, the person, you can also head on over to Terry Egioma's Instagram page, and the Breakfast Club interview and a few of the other podcasts that you've been on, they're all on display there. So Terry, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a beautiful day, okay?
Thank you, Renita. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye-bye.